The call for help. In the vast, uncharted reaches of the galaxy, where civilizations were born and destroyed in the blink of an eye, a tiny human settlement on the outskirts of a star system found itself facing a dire threat. The planet, once teeming with life and promise, now stood on the brink of annihilation. A series of unnatural cosmic events had destabilized the planet's core, causing massive earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and intense radiation storms. As the very ground trembled beneath their feet, the people of this small colony, led by Commander Elena Hargrave, sent out a desperate plea for help. The message traveled across the stars, reaching the ears of countless alien races. Yet, one by one, the responses came in, and they were not what Elena had hoped for. The alien empires that they had once considered allies turned their backs, unwilling to risk their own lives or resources to save such a small and seemingly insignificant race. The leaders of the Kythera Dominion, the Vraxan Empire, and even the peaceful Seleni refused to offer assistance. To them, the human colony was nothing more than a speck on the galactic map, unworthy of the effort. But Elena knew better. She understood that humanity's strength lay not in numbers, but in their ingenuity, their unwavering spirit, and their ability to adapt in the face of overwhelming odds. She refused to give up. As Elena prepared to make a final stand, she was shocked to receive a message from an unexpected source. The humans' old allies, the Kythera, an enigmatic race known for their vast knowledge of technology and their pacifist nature, had somehow received their distress signal. Unlike the other races, the Kythera saw potential in humanity, a spark of resilience and resourcefulness that could turn the tide in the battle for survival. The Kythera offered their help, not through military might, but through their advanced technology, providing the humans with the means to defend themselves and escape the impending doom. Elena, standing on the command bridge of the colony's last defense base, looked out at the stars. The human race had been written off by so many, but now, with the help of the Kythera, they had a fighting chance, a dangerous ally. The arrival of the Kythera was nothing short of a miracle. The humans had barely managed to hold on, struggling to maintain the thin thread of hope that they might escape the looming disaster. Commander Elena Hargrave, standing at the helm of the command center, watched in awe as the first of the Kythera ships descended from the dark expanse of space. The ships were like nothing the humans had ever seen. Sleek, shimmering vessels that glowed faintly in the surrounding starlight, their hulls brimming with an otherworldly energy. It was as if they were not merely ships but living entities, bearing the promise of salvation. Elena had spent years coordinating with alien allies, most of whom had proved unreliable, dismissive, or outright hostile. She had grown accustomed to disappointment, and the thought of trusting another alien race filled her with hesitation. The Kythera, however, were different. They exuded calm assurance, not the cold indifference or opportunistic demeanor that other races had shown. Their leader, an enigmatic figure named Lenir, communicated in soft tones, yet there was an undeniable strength in his words. He spoke with compassion, as though he genuinely believed in the worth of humanity. Despite her skepticism, Elena welcomed them with open arms, knowing that the colony's survival depended on alliances. There was no room for pride, and certainly no time for second guesses. The humans needed every advantage they could get. "We are here to help," Lenir said with a sense of quiet confidence as he addressed Elena and the highest-ranking officials. His alien face was serene, almost unassuming, yet the look in his deep eyes suggested ancient wisdom and untold knowledge. The Kythera offered technology far beyond the humans' understanding. They presented energy shields capable of withstanding the seismic shocks that had been ravaging the colony. Their ships were designed for long-range space travel, capable of protecting the humans from the devastating cosmic storms that threatened to destroy the planet. Most importantly, they offered their unparalleled expertise in terraforming, the ability to turn barren land into habitable terrain in a matter of weeks. While many in the human colony felt a rush of relief, not everyone shared Elena's optimism. There were whispers of doubt among the military commanders, particularly General Eric Vallon, who had been entrenched in the harsh realities of galactic politics for decades. He viewed the Kethra's sudden appearance with suspicion. "They offer us their help, but what do they gain from this?" Eric muttered to his inner circle. "No race offers help without some kind of price." He had seen too many instances of races making strategic alliances, only to backstab when it no longer served their purpose. He had no reason to trust them. The whispers of betrayal ran through the ranks, but Alina silenced them. She knew the reality. The Kethra were the last, best hope for their survival. She had seen their technology firsthand, and knew that without it, the colony would not last another rotation. And so, with the knowledge that the humans had no other choice, Alina began working with Liner's team to coordinate the evacuation. The first priority was to establish safe transport. The Kethra ships, though remarkable, were not designed to evacuate the entire population of the colony. It was a massive logistical challenge. Alina's eyes narrowed as she looked over the plans. Thousands of civilians needed to be moved, but only a few hundred ships were available. The clock was ticking. The Kethra worked alongside the human engineers, pooling their resources and knowledge to create an effective evacuation strategy. The Kethra's ships were efficient, precise in their calculations, capable of carrying hundreds of humans at once, and more than capable of withstanding the planetary storms. Yet there was no time to waste. As the tremors worsened, and the core of the planet began to destabilize even further, the Kethra engineers worked tirelessly, adapting their ships to accommodate the needs of the humans. In the meantime, the humans worked to defend their planet. While the Kethra's presence was undeniably a blessing, the reality was that they were still an unfamiliar ally. Many humans, especially the military factions, were reluctant to place all their trust in the Kethra. A major faction within the human military, led by General Vallon, began to voice concerns over the Kethra's true intentions. These concerns festered into deep suspicion. "There's something off about this," General Vallon said to his officers as they monitored the situation. "Why are they helping us? What do they want in return? Peaceful races don't go to war for others without a price." Alina, understanding the implications of this distrust, took it upon herself to ease the concerns of her people. She called an emergency meeting of the colony's leaders, alongside Lanner and his most trusted advisors. Lanner stood before them, his expression unreadable, but his voice calm. "The Kethra are not without their own struggles. Our people have been exiled from the great empires due to our refusal to engage in the warfare that has torn this galaxy apart. We have witnessed countless civilizations fall. We have seen the destruction of entire worlds at the hands of races like the Vraxans and the Kithara Dominion. Our goal is simple. We wish to prevent more suffering. We wish to prevent you from falling to the same fate." Liner's words, though heavy with the weight of centuries of history, struck a chord with Alina. It was easy to forget, in the midst of the chaos and terror, that these Kethra were not some distant, uncaring species. They were survivors, much like the humans, and they carried the scars of their own battles. But despite the persuasive arguments of the Kethra, the suspicion among the humans continued to grow. And when word spread that several Kethra ships had gone off course to survey abandoned territories in the neighboring star systems, rumors began to swirl. Had the Kethra been gathering intelligence on human technologies? Was their aid merely a cover for their true intentions? As the doubts grew, so did the tensions between the humans and their new allies. Commander Alina Hargrave had always believed in the power of diplomacy, but she also knew that the time for trusting others blindly had long passed. "We must be prepared for everything," she thought to herself. But she also understood that humanity's only chance at survival now lay in the hands of their mysterious allies. They had no other options. As the evacuations began in earnest, the uneasy alliance between the Kethra and the humans became more strained. But with each passing hour, Alina's resolve only grew stronger. She would do whatever it took to save her people, even if that meant questioning her own alliances. The betrayal unfolds. The human colony had barely begun its mass evacuation when the first signs of treachery emerged. The Kethra, who had worked tirelessly alongside the humans, suddenly found themselves under suspicion. The once harmonious collaboration between the two species began to crack under the weight of paranoia and mistrust. The very people the humans had come to depend on for their survival were now viewed with growing skepticism. Commander Elena Hargrave stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, her eyes scanning the stars that seemed so distant, so cold. The evacuation efforts were progressing, but time was running out. As the planet's core continued to destabilize, seismic activity increased, and the destruction of the planet became inevitable. Yet, in this moment of crisis, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Her instincts told her that their new allies, the Kethra, were hiding something. It wasn't long before the first whispers began. "Why are they helping us?" muttered General Eric Vallon, his voice low, tinged with suspicion. "What do they really want? Why the sudden interest in humanity? Have they been scouting us this whole time, gathering intel on our defenses?" His words, though unspoken in public, spread like wildfire through the ranks, stirring unease in the hearts of those who had trusted the Kethra. Elena had spent years in the trenches of intergalactic politics and diplomacy, and she had seen how quickly allies could become enemies. Her military background gave her the training to sense danger when it loomed in the shadows. The Kethra had been too quiet, too accommodating. Their help had been invaluable. But Elena couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that they were waiting for the right moment to claim something in return. But what could they possibly want from humanity? "Commander Hargrave, the Kethra fleet is ready to transport the first batch of evacuees," said Lieutenant Michael, her trusted officer. "We've made the necessary modifications to their ships. The first waves will leave within the hour." Elena nodded, her mind still preoccupied with the growing doubts. As Michael left to prepare the evacuation teams, Elena activated a secure channel to the Kethra leadership. She needed answers, and she needed them now. Lanner, the Kethra leader, appeared before her in the hologram, his face serene and calm as ever. "Commander Hargrave, it is an honor to continue assisting you and your people," he said. "We have seen the devastation you face. Know that we are committed to seeing this through." Elena didn't mince words. "What's going on, Lanner? I need to know everything. There are rumors circulating within the ranks, and I can't ignore them any longer. Why are you really helping us? What do you stand to gain?" Lanner's expression remained unchanged, but there was a flicker of something, maybe regret, or perhaps a tinge of sorrow, in his eyes. "I understand your concerns, Commander, but I assure you, our motives are pure. The Kethra have always been a peaceful people. We wish only to help. We see something in humanity that the other races do not. You have a potential that, if nurtured, could change the course of the galaxy itself. We do not ask for anything in return. We are doing this because we believe in you." But Elena wasn't convinced. She could hear the truth in Lanner's words, but she couldn't shake the suspicion that something was being withheld. She had dealt with too many political games to let her guard down now. "Then why are there whispers that your ships have been leaving their assigned routes? Why are you exploring abandoned systems nearby without explanation?" For a moment, Lanner's expression faltered. "We have been scouting," he admitted, his tone hesitant. "But not for reasons you might think. The Kethra have always sought knowledge. We are explorers at heart. There are ancient ruins scattered across the galaxy that could hold the key to the survival of all races. We have not forgotten the destruction that has befallen your people, Commander, but we also know that sometimes we must look beyond the immediate crisis to secure the future." A test of resolve. The evacuation efforts had reached a critical point. Hundreds of ships were now departing the human colony, their engines igniting in the twilight of a dying world. The once thriving planet, home to families, dreams, and generations of progress, was now slowly crumbling beneath the weight of its own unstable core. As the last of the human fleet prepared to launch, Commander Elena Hargrave stood at the observation window of the command center, her eyes scanning the horizon. The sight of the Kethra ships, sleek and silent, moving through the turbulent atmosphere, filled her with a sense of dread. Their calm exterior belied the storm that raged beneath the surface. While most of the population was now safe aboard the evacuation fleet, Alina knew that their survival depended not just on leaving the planet, but on the choices they would make in the uncertain future ahead. The Kethra had been a critical ally in their escape, but the feeling of betrayal, of being pawns in a much larger game, lingered heavily in the air. Alina's thoughts were interrupted as the voice of General Eric Valen crackled over the comms. "Commander, we have a problem. Our reconnaissance units have reported a massive fleet of unknown ships on the edge of the system. They're moving fast, and they're closing in on our position." Alina's heart sank. They had no idea who these new ships belonged to. The galaxy had been a battlefield for centuries, and any sign of a new force could spell disaster. The humans had already suffered betrayals at the hands of their so-called allies. What if these ships were another enemy, taking advantage of the chaos to strike? "Prepare for defensive maneuvers, General. We're not taking any chances," Alina ordered, her voice steady despite the panic rising within her. "What's their position?" "Approaching fast, Commander," Valen responded, his voice laced with tension. "We've already begun to scramble our fleet, but we might not have enough time to make it out before they arrive." Alina glanced at the status reports flashing on her display. The ships that had been prepared for evacuation were not equipped for full-scale combat. The humans had no military superiority in this part of the galaxy. They were survivors, not soldiers. The Kethra, too, were known for their pacifist nature, preferring negotiation over conflict. But there was no time for diplomacy now. "Send a message to the Kethra," Alina said quickly. "Tell them we need reinforcements. The situation just escalated." The moments that followed were filled with an unbearable tension. Alina paced back and forth in the command center as the clock ticked down. Her mind raced. Who were these unknown ships? Had the Kethra betrayed them? Or was it a new threat altogether? As the unknown fleet drew nearer, Alina's instincts screamed that they needed to prepare for the worst. Despite everything, she couldn't shake the feeling that the Kethra were hiding something. Her earlier conversation with Lanner still echoed in her mind. Could their strange behavior, their unexplained excursions, be tied to these unknown ships? Had they been scouting the humans for a reason that extended beyond mere help? A sudden burst of static interrupted her thoughts as a Kethra communication officer appeared on the screen. "Commander Hargrave, we have received your request. Our fleet is now on its way. But we must advise caution. These ships are unlike anything we have encountered." Alina's heart pounded in her chest. "What do you mean?" she demanded. "Do you know who they are?" The Kethra officer's expression was unreadable, but his voice was filled with a deep concern. "They are a race known as the Zeren, aggressive, territorial, and fiercely protective of their borders. They have wiped out entire colonies before. We do not know why they have come here, but we believe it may be linked to the energy signals we've detected in the system." Energy signals? Alina's mind raced. Could the Zeren have detected the Kethra's fleet? Or was this all connected to the mysterious warnings about betrayal? The Kethra had already shown a degree of secrecy in their actions, and now their past movements seemed more suspect than ever. "Can we defeat them?" Alina asked, her voice tight with the weight of the decision. The Kethra officer hesitated. "Their ships are powerful, far more advanced than any we've encountered. But we will fight to protect you." Alina clenched her fists, her resolve hardening. There was no turning back now. The humans had already lost everything. They could not afford to lose their chance at survival. If the Kethra were hiding something, if they had made some secret deal with the Zeren, then it was time to expose the truth. She couldn't risk the future of humanity on blind faith. "General Valen," Alina called, turning toward the communications array. "We will prepare to engage. I want every available ship ready for battle. Focus on defense first. If we can hold them off long enough for the last AVEC ships to escape, we may have a chance." "Understood, Commander." Valen's voice was steady, but she could hear the tension in it. "We'll hold the line." As the humans scrambled to prepare their fleet, Alina's mind raced. The Kethra had been their last hope, but now she wasn't so sure. She felt the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders, and she knew that the battle ahead would be a test of everything humanity had learned. It would be a test of their strength, their resourcefulness, and their will to survive. The Kethra fleet had arrived, and the two forces, human and Kethra, positioned themselves side by side, facing the incoming Zeran. The human ships were smaller and less advanced, but they had something that the Zeran could not predict: the heart and determination of a species who had fought for their place in the galaxy for centuries. They would not go down without a fight. The first shots rang out as the Zeran ships closed in, their weapons blazing with deadly precision. The humans, guided by the Kethra's tactical advice, returned fire, but the Zeran's superior technology was immediately apparent. The human ships buckled under the assault, their shields flickering before giving way to the devastating force of the enemy's firepower. Alina watched in horror as one of the lead ships in her fleet exploded in a brilliant flash, sending debris and flames spiraling into the void. But even in the face of such overwhelming odds, the humans fought back with everything they had. They adapted. They improvised. They used the limited resources at their disposal to turn the tide of battle, striking with precision where the Zeran least expected. As the battle raged on, Alina watched as the Kethra ships coordinated their strikes with impeccable efficiency. Their fleet had fewer numbers, but they were highly skilled in tactics. It was clear that their technological advantage was their greatest asset. Then, as the tide of battle shifted and the Zeran began to retreat, Alina caught a glimpse of the truth. The Kethra were not merely helping humanity. They were protecting something. Something much more significant than the humans could have imagined. The Zeran's retreat was not just a sign of human strength. It was a signal. The Kethra had orchestrated the defense to ensure that the Zeran could not uncover what they were really hiding. Unveiling the truth. The aftermath of the battle left a heavy silence hanging over the survivors. The Zeran fleet had retreated, but the cost of victory was high. The human fleet had lost several ships, their twisted wreckage drifting in the cold expanse of space. The Kethra's ships had fared better, their advanced technology allowing them to withstand much of the Zeran onslaught. Yet even they had sustained significant damage. The scale of the battle was unlike anything the humans had ever experienced, but the price of survival had only just begun to reveal itself. Commander Alina Hargrave stood on the bridge of the command ship, her gaze fixed on the stars outside. The battle was over for now, but the uneasy truce with the Kethra left her with more questions than answers. The Kethra had helped them in the fight, yes, but their motives seemed to stretch beyond mere altruism. Their victory against the Zeran had been too perfect, too orchestrated. Alina couldn't shake the feeling that there was something larger at play. She had to know the truth. "Commander," said General Eric Valen, breaking her reverie. He was standing beside her, his expression tense as he studied the reports. "We've won, but barely. We've got a few casualties, and our fleet is in no condition to keep fighting if the Zeran decide to come back with reinforcements. I don't trust this situation. The Kethra, there's something off about them." Alina nodded, her thoughts mirroring the general's. "I've been thinking the same thing, General. The Kethra have been too helpful, too convenient. They didn't just help us survive. They led us into battle with precision, almost as if they knew exactly how things would unfold." "You don't think they set us up?" Valen asked, his tone grave. Alina hesitated, her hand resting on the cool surface of the command table. "I don't know, but something's not right. If they're hiding something, we need to find out what it is, and fast." As the humans regrouped and began to repair their ships, Alina made a decision. She needed answers, and the only way to get them was to confront Lanir, the Kethra leader, face to face. She trusted him in some ways, but in others, her doubts gnawed at her like a constant, unrelenting storm. Within the hour, Elena had arranged a meeting with Lanir. The Kethra's flagship was already in orbit, and she requested a secure communication link to speak with him directly. As the holoprojector flickered to life, Lanir's calm face appeared. He looked as serene as ever, as if the battle and its aftermath had not fazed him in the slightest. "Commander Hargrave," Lanir greeted her, his voice smooth and measured. "I trust the battle went according to your expectations." Elena didn't waste time on pleasantries. "The battle is over, Lanir, but I need to know the truth. Why did you really help us? What do you want from humanity?" Lanir's expression didn't change, but Elena could see the briefest flicker of something, perhaps uncertainty or regret. "I understand your skepticism, Commander, and I understand that after what you've been through, trust does not come easily." "Cut the pleasantries," Elena said sharply. "Why did you send us into battle? Why did you orchestrate the whole thing? The Zeren weren't just some random enemy. You knew they were coming. You were prepared for everything. Why? What's going on, Lanir?" The Kethra leader's eyes darkened for the first time. "It's true. We knew the Zeren would arrive. But they were not the true threat. What you faced was only a symptom of the greater problem. We have been watching your people for some time, Commander. Humanity possesses something rare, something the galaxy has not seen in millennia. Your species, your potential, is extraordinary." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean? What is it that you're not telling us?" Lanir leaned forward, his voice becoming softer, more serious. "There are forces in this galaxy, ancient forces, that seek to control all life, to reshape the galaxy into their image. The Zeren, the Vraxans, even the Kithara Dominion. They are all pawns in a game much larger than any of us can comprehend. We have watched and studied these forces, and we believe they are preparing for a new kind of war, a war that will annihilate all who resist them." Elena's mind raced. "And what does that have to do with humanity?" "You, Commander, are the key," Lanir said gravely. "Humanity is unlike any race we have encountered. You have a capacity for ingenuity, for creativity, that surpasses any other species. Your ability to adapt, to think outside the box, is your greatest strength. But it is also your greatest danger. The ancient forces that seek domination know this. They fear humanity's potential. And so, they are coming for you." The room fell silent as Elena processed what she had just heard. Her heart pounded in her chest. It made sense. Humanity's resilience, their innovation in the face of overwhelming odds, had always been their greatest asset. But it also made them a target for those who sought to control the galaxy and eliminate anything that threatened their reign. "Why didn't you tell us this sooner?" Elena asked, her voice a mix of frustration and disbelief. "Why did you wait until we were on the brink of annihilation to reveal this? We could have prepared." Lanir sighed deeply, his gaze turning toward the distant stars. "We tried, Commander. We tried to warn the other races, but they were not ready to listen. We were forced to make difficult decisions. If we had told you everything, it might have endangered you even more. The ancient forces, those who seek to dominate, have spies everywhere. Their influence stretches far and wide. We couldn't risk tipping them off too early." Elena felt a pang of anger mixed with a bitter understanding. The Kethra had been trying to protect humanity, but in their own way, they had kept them in the dark. The very help they had received had come with strings attached, and now it seemed that the Kethra's motives were not purely altruistic. "So, what now?" Elena asked, her voice steady. "What do we do next?" "We prepare," Lanir replied, his voice hardening with resolve. "We join forces, human and Kethra. The battle we just fought is nothing compared to what's coming. The true enemy is still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. But you, Commander, have a unique ability to unite others. You have a rare strength that we need. Together, we can build an alliance strong enough to face the coming storm." Elena stood in silence, weighing his words. The future of humanity now lay in the hands of those who had helped them, and those who might betray them. But she knew one thing for certain. The coming war would test the very soul of humanity. And whatever the Kethra's true motives were, the humans would face it head-on, as they always had, with ingenuity, resilience, and the burning will to survive. Elena felt her heart tighten. So you've been searching for more advanced technology, something to secure your place in the galaxy, perhaps. Her voice was sharp, more accusatory than she intended. What if you're just using us, like every other race that's helped us before? Lanier's gaze softened. I understand your anger, Commander. But this is not about control. This is about survival. We have made many sacrifices to be here, to help you. But we cannot ignore the larger picture. The galaxy is on the brink of war, and we must prepare for what's coming. If we are to ensure the safety of all races, we must act now. Elena's mind raced. She had seen the devastation brought on by galactic wars, the betrayals, and the unspoken deals made behind closed doors. She knew that the Kethra might be hiding something, but were they truly allies, or were they playing a longer game? Could she afford to trust them? Before she could respond, a loud alarm interrupted their conversation. Commander, seismic activity is increasing again. The planet is beginning to crack. We need to evacuate now. Elena's heart sank as the urgency of the situation became all too real. There was no more time for questioning, no more room for hesitation. The evacuation had to continue, regardless of the uncertainty hanging over them. Lanier's calm voice came through once more. Commander, we will make sure every single person is evacuated safely. The Kethra will honor our word. But Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. As the evacuation continued, she kept a close watch on the Kethra, determined to uncover the truth about their true intentions. Time was running out, and every decision could mean the difference between survival and extinction. The first group of evacuees boarded the Kethra ships, their faces a mix of relief and fear. They were leaving behind everything they had ever known, unsure of what the future held. As the ships lifted off from the planet's surface, Elena watched from the command center, her heart heavy with the weight of the unknown. And then, as if to confirm her worst fears, a message arrived from an unknown source. Betrayal is near. The gathering storm. Elena stood in the command center, staring at the star map in front of her. The galaxy sprawled out in endless darkness, dotted with distant stars, and the faint glow of civilizations that had risen and fallen long before humanity had taken its first steps into the stars. Yet, in the quiet vastness of space, Elena could sense the looming threat, the rising tension that had nothing to do with the coldness of the void, but everything to do with the storm that was about to engulf them all. The Kethra had revealed their true purpose. Humanity, with its boundless potential and relentless ingenuity, had become a target for ancient malevolent forces, the true masters of the galaxy who would stop at nothing to crush anything that threatened their absolute control. These forces were not just powerful. They were patient, manipulating the galaxy from the shadows, pulling the strings of empires and civilizations, sowing discord among allies, and erasing anyone who stood in their way. And now, humanity had become the newest threat. Elena ran a hand through her hair, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on her. The Zarin had been only a small part of the threat, a symptom of the greater danger that loomed on the horizon. They had fought well, but the real war had only just begun. Commander, we have new intelligence. General Valen's voice cut through her thoughts as he entered the command center. His face was grim, the weariness of the battle still visible in his eyes. The Kethra have sent us a report. The forces that have been manipulating the galaxy are known as the Eternals. Elena turned toward him, her interest piqued. The Eternals? She had never heard of them. The name sounded like something ancient, something that had been around long before any of the modern galactic races had taken shape. The Eternals are a collective of beings who have existed for millennia. Valen continued, his voice heavy with the gravity of the situation. They are the true rulers of the galaxy, the ones who dictate the fate of every race and empire. The Kethra have been fighting them for centuries, but they've kept their existence hidden. They work in the shadows, pulling the strings behind every conflict, every war, every betrayal. They want to control everything. Alina's mind raced. If they've been pulling the strings all this time, why haven't we seen them? Why are we only learning about them now? Because, Velen replied, his eyes narrowing. They've been watching humanity from afar. They know what we're capable of. And now they see us as the biggest threat to their power. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. So, what do we do? How do we stop them? Valen's expression hardened. We fight. We build an alliance, not just with the Kethra, but with every race willing to stand against the Eternals. We don't have the luxury of waiting any longer. These forces, these Eternals, are preparing for something catastrophic. If we don't act now, we'll be wiped out before we even have a chance to defend ourselves. Alina stared at the map again, but this time, her mind wasn't on the stars. Her thoughts were on the Kethra, the strange alliance they had formed, and the reality of the war that lay ahead. She had trusted the Kethra, but now she wondered if their true intentions were as noble as they had seemed. Were they truly allies, or was their plan just a means to use humanity as pawns in a larger game? The truth was, Alina didn't know if the Kethra were still trustworthy. They had been secretive, withholding critical information that might have helped humanity prepare for what was coming. But at the same time, their help had been invaluable in the battle against the Zeran. The reality was that the Kethra had been their only chance for survival, but could she trust them to stay true when the stakes were higher? The air was thick with uncertainty as Alina turned to General Valen. "Get me a meeting with Lanir," she said. "It's time we learned exactly what the Kethra know about the Eternals." Minutes later, Alina was standing face to face with Lanir, the Kethra leader, his expression as calm and composed as ever. "Commander Hargrave." He greeted her, his voice measured. "What can I do for you?" Alina didn't waste any time. "You know who the Eternals are. Don't pretend otherwise. Lanir, you've been fighting them for centuries. Now it's time you tell us everything." Lanir's eyes flickered, a brief flash of something, regret, perhaps, passing through his gaze. The Eternals are not like the Zeran. They are not a race that can be fought with weapons or military might. They are ancient beings, older than any of the current civilizations in the galaxy. They see themselves as the true rulers of the stars, and they will not tolerate any challenge to their power. "So why didn't you tell us this sooner?" Alina's voice was sharp, filled with frustration. "Why all the secrecy? Why drag us into this battle without telling us the full story?" Lanir took a deep breath, his gaze unwavering. "We did not tell you everything because we feared it would bring about panic. If the Eternals knew we had warned you, they would have come for you sooner. And when they did, they would have wiped you out without a second thought." Alina's mind raced. The Eternals were no ordinary enemy. They were ancient, calculating, and ruthless. If they could control the fate of the galaxy, then their reach extended far beyond anything humanity could imagine. "So what do we do now?" she asked, her voice quieter this time. "How do we fight something that powerful?" Lanir's expression hardened, and for the first time, there was a sense of urgency in his voice. "We don't fight them directly. We can't. But we can find their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities. There is a weapon, a relic, hidden deep in the ruins of an ancient civilization. It is the only thing that can disrupt the Eternals' influence and give us a fighting chance." Alina felt her heart race. "Where is it?" "On a distant world, far from here. We can't get to it alone. But with your help, Commander, with humanity's ingenuity and the strength of our alliance, we can retrieve it." Alina clenched her fists, her mind already turning with the possibilities. This was humanity's chance. This was the way they could fight back, not with brute force, but with the power of knowledge, innovation, and unity. The Eternals had underestimated humanity before, but they would not make that mistake again. She turned to Valen, who had been listening quietly at her side. "Get the fleet ready," she said, her voice firm. "We're going after that relic, and we'll find a way to stop the Eternals, no matter what it takes." As the humans and Kethra began to prepare for the dangerous journey ahead, Alina felt a spark of hope flicker in her chest. The odds were still insurmountable, and the path forward was fraught with peril. But she knew one thing: humanity would never go down without a fight.